Welcome to Real Talk Christian Podcast, where we drink coffee and have real conversations on faith, culture, and society. This is Mark Hyde.
And Chris Fuller.
And on today's episode of Real Talk Christian, we're talking about idolatry in the church. What is it? What does it look like? And what do we need to look out for to make sure that we don't put other things ahead of God where he belongs? Fuller, you ready?
Let's go.
Let's go.
Man, I feel like we're just speeding right into it, Mark.
Well, first off, welcome to the sauna episode.
Ooh, it is a little
because
warm
it is
here.
toasty in the church.
And a little stinky, too.
Little stinky, dude. Today apparently is like the most popular day for the church besides normal Sundays.
Yeah, because we have podcast.
Yep.
The boys are playing basketball.
And it smells like it.
And they're doing the church lock-in tonight.
For the teenagers.
So we gotta like boom, 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 fire through these
kick out. So we got no video this week.
No video this week.
Just audio.
No video next week.
Nope.
Just audio. So don't go. I mean, you can look on YouTube, but it's just going to be audio.
It'll be there, but it's just audio. So you don't get to see our wonderful faces, which honestly, I feel like we can have an actual conversation now because we're not looking at a camera and there's not lights. Like, people don't realize we have 3 different light rigs plus the camera and a monitor and a computer. I mean, there's wires everywhere.
All over. Like, I feel like I'm constantly like touching a wire. I've been eating these chocolate espresso beans. I feel like I got like
wait, let me see these.
film on my
these.
mouth now.
So these are chocolate covered. Oh, these are Starbucks. So they're like even more bitter.
They're actually not bad.
So I don't eat chocolate covered espresso beans.
They must have like the tiniest espresso beans in there because I don't even taste them.
I have never.
They just taste like chocolate.
You hear that? That's like the crackle and pop of them open. Okay.
Today we're doing Charbucks.
So I have never eaten a chocolate covered espresso bean from Starbucks.
All right, so here we go.
I feel like I don't want to chew into the mic.
What do you think? Not bad. It tastes more
That's
like
good.
chocolate than anything, right?
Oh, there's the espresso. Okay.
Yep. It's all right. It's all right.
Honestly, that kind of has that's got a good chocolate hit to it, though.
It's more chocolate than it is coffee bean.
But I can taste the grittiness now in my teeth afterwards. But I see what you mean by the film. But
Yeah, it's like
yeah, it's just kind of so people hear us smacking our lips and cleaning our teeth.
It would make more sense if there was video, but we had to get rolling tonight because we got to be cleaned up and out of here before the lock-in tonight.
I mean, most people probably don't realize how late we record. We record late.
Typically,
usually.
I'm not getting home till like midnight. Mm-hmm. Typically, we start at like 6.
I wouldn't say typically. Typically, is it really midnight? For me, it's like 10:30.
Not when we were doing it at your house. It was always
That's
like
true,
midnight.
because we would stay after and we would chat and we would have in between times and making coffee.
But this time is just like boom, boom. Let's just knock it out, and then we'll have our alone time afterwards.
Oh,
alone.
alone time. My mic just fell. There's case in point that we need new equipment. So, but tonight's episode is sponsored by Starbucks.
Charbucks.
Charbucks, because they burn their beans.
But it's all right because I got their foo drink with enough sugar that it covers all the bad
So
days.
what are you drinking tonight, my guy?
It is a caramel ribbon frappuccino. Oh, it's so good. What are you drinking, my guy?
Well, before we get to, mine is an upside down caramel mock. So it's made differently. I mean, it's made upside down. This is how I make it at home, and this is how Beth always drinks it.
Made upside down.
They just put the ingredients in backwards.
So it was funny. You know, I texted you. I was like, cold or hot? And I was like, he's probably like, it only comes in hot. I was waiting for that. And you're like, hot. And as soon as I got there, she's like, cold or hot? I'm like, I knew I needed to ask that.
You needed to ask. So I'm doing an upside down caramel macchiato because I really enjoy them.
Yeah.
I used to do them. I used to do them the other way, where they put the milk in first and then the espresso. I make it different at home, anyways. But Beth was like, "No, you got to try it upside down. So you get an espresso hit first and less foamy milk first, because instead of like a lot of milk and then espresso just in the middle, it's like all mixes in. So basically, it's stirred. It's basically stirred. But for your frou-frou drink, all right. So the people's got to know. So you're not a big Starbucks fan until it comes to their frou-frou drinks.
Their frou-frou drinks.
Frappuccinos and the high-sugared stuff.
It's really the
holiday drinks. You love their holiday drinks.
Their holiday drinks and their frou-frou frappuccinos that I like.
So what's your so you have the caramel ribbon tonight. Is that your normal go-to?
That's my go-to for summer drinks.
For summer, okay.
And then for winter drinks, it's always the white chocolate mocha.
You used, yeah. When we first started the podcast, you had a white chocolate mocha like every episode.
Well, remember
in small groups,
right?
Every Tuesday you walked in.
That was our Starbucks night.
I remember that. No, see, I actually spent a lot of time with one of my former students. Well, Cassidy, she's a Starbucks barista. All the cripes were at Starbucks, but they all have different jobs now. Fun fact, there's no more cripes at Starbucks. But I was like, okay, this is the drink I love. It is a vanilla bean frappuccino, right?
Okay.
With espresso. Because and I'm like, all right, I don't want to pay $7 for this drink, Cassidy. So how do I make it the actual like $5 price? So she went on this long expedition, and even at work was ringing different ideas up to try to make it cheaper because it's made with the cream base, and then they add espresso. But when you add espresso or anything, they charge it up like an extra $1.50.
I thought it was like $1.75.
Is it $1.75?
I think so.
But still, it's to the point where it's stupid expensive, where it's like, I'm paying the same thing for a Frappuccino. Why does it cost so much more? It's just because it's not on the menu and I have to make it custom.
Well, I used to never drink Starbucks until I married a former barista from Starbucks, a.k.a. Janelle.
A.k.a. Janelle. And then she got you into it. So we're drinking Starbucks tonight. We're not drinking no frou-frou drink. We're not drinking
no time tonight for
we are drinking frou-frou drink. We're drinking no micro roasted, slow roasted, house roasted, good quality thing. This is on the go. Let's go. On the go, pure sugar.
So,
all right, my dude, let's move on.
Let's get into the question in a box because I got a good question for you today. You got a
question, okay.
All right, you ready?
No, not really, actually. Right. I'm a little nervous.
If you could have asked Jesus anything, what would it be?
You got to be,
If you could have asked Jesus anything, so like if you were living back 2,000 years ago with him, what would it be?
I would want him to explain how the Trinity actually works. Yeah. Like, how do you pray to God the Father? Because Jesus is God, God the Father is God, God the Holy Spirit is God, but God the Father is not Jesus, and Jesus is not God, but they're three in one, so it's one God, three persons, not...
Here's the thing. I hear you asking that question, and then I hear Jonathan Rumi, the guy who plays Jesus on The Chosen, going... Let's save that for another time.
But I think that's what I would, more than the practical day-to-day living, I would want to be like, how the heck does the Trinity, like how does it work? Like, how does it actually work? That's what I would want to know. That's what I would want to know.
I'm more of the practical guy. I would have been like, so Jesus, honestly, because you can't lie.
Right.
How many times as a child did you fall and get hurt and heal yourself? Honestly.
Jesus never had a boo-boo.
How did you know? He was every way man.
He did. And he bled. We knew he bled on the cross, so homeboy had to scrape his knee. But seriously.
Can you imagine? Like, he falls out of the tree and Joseph comes running up. Oh, Jesus, are you okay? He's like, no problem. I'm healed.
Because we have nothing about his growing up.
We get a little snapshot at 12, and that was it.
Like, I know there's the whole, is in the book of Islam or maybe the book of Mormon where Jesus turned like a wood bird into a real bird.
I believe that was the Book of Mormon.
Is that the Book of Mormon? Okay.
Which is...
Yeah. And then there's the memes where it was like Jesus or Mary telling Jesus get in the bathwater and Jesus is staying on the water going, no.
Yeah, right.
like that's fair. Like, yeah. How many times did he heal himself? Yeah. I was expecting you to say, how did you not sin? Like little 13-year-old boy run around Jerusalem with all those little 13-year-old girls. The other question, like, how do you not?
The other question was, how often did your brothers and sisters get in trouble? Because you're perfect. Obviously, you didn't sin.
Could you imagine being Jesus' brother?
Can you imagine being James?
No
wonder why they were like, you're crazy, Jesus.
Michael Jr. has an amazing sketch on that. Like, so I'm wearing a WWJD bracelet. He's like, could you imagine James walking around one of these in Jerusalem? Go, hey, what does your bracelet mean? It's not what would Jesus do. It's what would James do. Like, this ain't Jesus. This is James. Right? But could you imagine being the brothers of Jesus? Yeah.
Not even a little bit.
You know, there's some interesting debate whether Jesus even had siblings, which we touched on a little bit, and I think in the Mary episode where, you know, Mary, you know, had Jesus and then never slept with, like, Joseph ever. Like,
that's the Catholic, you know.
But
so Orthodox Catholic, should I say?
Right, but we believe Jesus had brothers. But that's a fair question.
I believe James was the brother of Jesus, the actual brother. So, anyways,
I love it.
Let's dive in. Do we have any reviews today?
We do not have a new review unless one. Nope, I just checked. Now we have had some really cool interactions on Instagram.
But wait, the coolest thing was what you sent to me and the Frericks last night.
Oh, the fact that we're trending.
We're trending.
In Peru.
We're in the top 200 podcasts in Peru.
In Peru.
I mean, That's what's up.
That's pretty dope. Like, that's pretty dope. And then we've had some really cool interactions on Instagram lately.
Oh, yeah.
So we've had some fun conversations over there. And we tell people we're real people. We want to minister. We want to do this thing called life together, you know?
And then we heard from one of our favorite brothers, Billy Fenton.
Yep.
He's all caught up with all the podcasts. Good job, Billy.
Which is unstupid real.
Man, that's a lot of content to go through. And it didn't take him that long.
So Billy, here's the deal. I love listening to myself talk. Not that much. So the fact that you are a rewinder
and you're caught up.
That makes my day.
It's awesome.
The fact that people want to listen to our conversations is super cool.
Billy, let me ask you a serious question though. No, and I didn't say Mark. I said Billy.
I said okay. Like I'm listening.
Okay.
I'm listening.
So Billy, get back to us. I know you're going to Facebook message us because you're the best. But
I will say Billy's probably our most active Facebook user.
Oh man, I love it. Though.
And David's another one too.
David Weaver, yeah.
Yep.
So Billy, I got to ask you, was it better quality now or better quality podcast in the beginning? Which one do you like more? Do you like more the style we do now and the different segments? Or did you like just in the beginning where it was just like, there it is?
That's true because most people have gone on the journey with us.
Right.
So, yeah.
So they may not remember quite back that far. I mean, we're coming up, dude. In August, it'll be 2 years.
We're close to
2 years.
We're close to episode 100.
We've been putting out an episode a week for almost 2 years, except for those short little couple weeks breaks.
Those little breaks in the summer, but we've even done bonus episodes too. So I think we've passed 100 episodes total.
I think we're going to be at by the time we hit the 100th episode, it'll be 106 or 109 episodes total. But regardless, guess what we're doing for our 100th episode, Mark?
We're having a giveaway. I didn't have the music pads ready.
Anybody who's been with us for a while should probably guess that, hey, on the big stuff,
there it is.
We like to give big giveaways. So, Mark, can you tell everybody who's listening, what are we going to be giving away on our 100th episode?
I'm excited. So the first giveaway we did, episode 50, we did the Mega Swag Bag.
Oh, yeah. And Joe Frericks got that.
Well, Kimberly
that.
jacked it, so we got Joe more stuff. But for the Mega Swag Bag, we gave away that tote bag. And it wasn't a tote bag; it was a drawstring backpack. Which, just so you know, that's Elliot's go bag for church. It has his book. It has actual stuff in it, and it hasn't been destroyed. We gave good quality.
We gave the same one. Billy Fenton actually has that one too.
So we gave away the backpack, T-shirt, coffee that you roasted, the coffee mug. A signed letter from us?
And a signed picture.
Yep.
That was framed. And then, what was it?
Business cards and stickers and buttons. And we just did the whole 9 yards.
Everything.
Well, since it's the 100th episode.
We're giving away our new car. Oh, wait. No, we're not.
We're not Oprah. No, we're going to do a twofer giveaway. A twofer.
Like, all I want for Christmas is my 2 front teeth, or...
I mean, maybe. I don't know if there's people out there in West Virginia or Mississippi listening to us. Maybe they want their 2 front teeth.
Wow.
Sorry.
Well, we just lost
the whole listener base.
Most of our listener base is gone now. Thanks a lot, Mark.
That's okay. My dad's from the Bayou of Louisiana, so it ain't pretty. But we're going to do the twofer giveaway, where everything we give away, we're giving away 2 of.
2.
So either you and your spouse, you and your best friend, you and maybe you want to give it to someone who you think should listen to the podcast.
Or just you and you.
Or just you and you. You can go on a date with yourself via RTC. So we're going to be giving away 2 different books. We're not telling you what they are yet. We're keeping those close to our chest.
You got to look out for, as we draw closer to the 100th episode, which, I mean, we're close, but like a week away, start checking social media, and we might reveal it on social media.
So we're going to have 2 books.
Yep.
2 shirts.
Yep.
We're going to do 2 coffee mugs.
Yep. Probably some stickers and some buttons.
Stickers and some buttons.
Business cards. And maybe some coffee.
Depends. But we're going to do 2 shirts, 2 coffee mugs, and 2 books.
It's the twofers.
It's the twofers.
It's twofa magic.
And hey, if there's anybody out there who wants to, give us stuff to put in the 100 Mega Swag Bag, that'd be awesome.
That would be cool.
If we have some friends out there that are like, hey, I want to add this into it. I know there's some other guys out there who are also podcast hosts that maybe we can start.
We're talking to you, Andy Lehman, from the Dudes and Dads podcast.
Oh, my goodness. Or, what does the Bible say with Rodney Buse? We got some of those. So it'd be fun to do a mashup.
I think we were talking about
We're talking it. It's in the works. It is in the works at date of recording. But either way, we're going to do a 2 for giveaway where 2 shirts, 2 coffee mugs, 2 books,
and whatever
else we decide to toss in.
You just never know. It's like a mystery swag bag almost.
And we're still trying to figure out the best way to do it because, this is what's hard is you can only leave one Facebook review. You can only leave one podcast review on Apple Podcasts. So we're trying to figure out the best way to give it away. So keep your eyes out, but you got to be on social media. If you're not on social media, text us, email us. Let us know that you're not on social because we want to get you into that thing too.
Maybe I'll throw a Chosen DVD in there too, since I love The Chosen.
You love The Chosen. Maybe we'll give them the shirt off your back.
No. It probably won't fit anybody.
It wouldn't fit me, but that's okay.
It's a big shirt.
Yeah, I'm a little guy, but it's all right. But either way, we are going to have the 2 for giveaway, but keep your eyes and ears out on social media for when we give that away. But dude, we have no review to read. We talked about the 2 for mega swag bag, 100
coffee, did question in a box.
I think we're ready to get in,
bro. I mean, this is a serious episode.
It is.
Not really.
Aren't all of our episodes serious? Like, we're serious about all the episodes.
But we're talking today about what is, like, not just what is idolatry, but idolatry in the church. Like, what?
Yeah, so is there a difference between idolatry in the church and just idolatry in general? Like, what's your thought with this?
Oh, do we want to go into that now?
That's up to you.
Oh, I don't know. So this is not a building episode. This is just hey, we're going to have a conversation episode.
All right.
So I'm going to save that for a little bit.
Okay.
Because I want to just do a defining what idolatry is.
Yeah, set the stage a little bit.
So let's set it with the definition of idolatry, okay? This is not like, I didn't go, what is biblical idolatry? Like, this is just from, like,
tried and true.
I think it was from definitions.com or something like that. But the definition of idolatry is the worship of idols, extreme admiration, love, or reverence for something or someone. That's a big thing.
Extreme admiration. Okay.
So, like, you have extreme admiration, love, or reverence for something, or someone.
And I get where that definition comes from because we have shows, like American Idol.
Oh.
And other.
Yeah.
American Idol is probably the show that uses the word idol the most because it's in its title. Like, you don't hear the word idol just thrown around. I mean, you hear other ones like they're iconic or
right.
Like the American Idol is Kelly Clarkson. That's kind of the only time you hear.
But we also hear, so and so idolizes so and so.
That is true. Like, you hear
a lot,
especially when it comes to the sports world,
or actors or actresses, music stars. You're idolized by the younger generation. You need to act right. Blah blah blah. And it's like, oh, okay. But specifically in the church, does the church have idolatry? What do you think, Mark?
Well, before we get into that, I kind of want to ask, is this the right definition to ask for regarding the church? Because I feel like extreme love, admiration, reverence, are those even bad things? I think we first need to ask that question. Are they bad things before we even talk about what's idolatry in the church?
Okay. So I think they can be.
Okay.
It's just like too much of anything can be bad for you. Well,
literally.
It depends also on what you're doing.
Too much of coffee is all right.
That's a good thing.
You might never sleep, and you might have a heart attack. You might die.
Jesus made sure that Hebrews was in the Bible.
But
anyways, sorry, bad dad joke. Anyways, I don't think it's just a matter of too much or too little to idolatry. I can't even say it. Idolize. Thank you. That's the word.
There you go.
But it's also the subject matter.
Okay.
So, well, let's just dive into the words of God here.
Okay,
first.
yeah, let's do that because that's what I'm trying. That's what I'm wrestling with.
He's like, man, I don't even know where you're going with all this.
Well, I hear this definition, and then I'm like, okay, well, I admire people in the church. Like, I admire Billy Graham, and I admire like David Crowder. I admire
but it's not
Sean McDowell. Like,
is it extreme admiration to where like you're idolizing them? So let's get into what God says, all right? He says in Exodus 20:1-6, and God spoke all these words, saying, this is God speaking. I am the Lord your God who brought you, he's speaking to the Israelites. I am the Lord your God who brought you out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. Oh, this is kind of like the start of the Ten Commandments. You shall not make for yourself a carved image or any likeness or anything that is in heaven above or on earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. You shall not bow down to them or serve them, for I, the Lord, am your God, am a jealous God, visiting the iniquity of the fathers on the children to the third and fourth generation of those who hate me, but showing steadfast love to thousands of those who love me and keep my commandments. So then let's go to Leviticus 26:1. Basically the same thing. It's all over in the first 5 books here. You shall not make any idols for yourself or erect an image or pillar. You shall not set up a figure stone in your land to bow down to, for I am the Lord your God. Now you're like, okay, well, this is talking about erecting graven images and bowing down.
Like I almost, and I picture like a totem pole and worshiping a totem pole, you know?
Right, that's the easy stuff, right?
Right.
We figure, okay, we're not going to bring a statue of Buddha into our house or a statue of...
Well, not just that,
whoever.
but then also bow to it, you know, in order to say,
right.
this God will protect me from whatever.
But how many Christians might have, like, I don't know, a painting of Jesus? Because here's the thing. Exodus says you should not have for yourself carved image or any likeness of anything that is in heaven above or on the earth beneath. So what's your thoughts maybe on, I don't know.
Wow, we're going there now.
Crosses, paintings of Jesus. Like, I mean, I don't know.
It's a good question.
This is one of them things is like, are there idols in the church?
And there's a listener who's Catholic who listens to our podcast. And after the Mary episode, he asked a question. He goes, okay, so honest question, Mark, what do you talk about the shrines to Mary and,
right.
and
but what about these things?
Well, what about the nativity scenes?
Right.
Like, is that bad? Is that, I'm
right.
like, oh, wow, that's a good question.
So this is where we have to get into what do they stand for? How closely do you hold and attribute? Like, So I'll give you an example.
Okay.
As a child, right, my parents had a picture of a quote unquote Jesus, blonde hair, blue eyed Jesus, hanging up in our house. They were baby Christians. My dad met his best friend, my godfather, who passed away. We've talked about in previous episodes.
It's been a long time since we talked about the Godfather. Actually,
it has. But he had a very strong resemblance to this picture, so I used to call him Jesus as a child.
I didn't know that.
A 3-4-year-old, I thought he was Jesus.
Right.
Do you think I had a misconception of who Jesus actually was or might have looked at like to the fact where I started worshiping almost a man who looked like this picture who I was told was Jesus? So see how you could take it, and not that, I mean, it was a child's innocence, all right? I'm not saying I was sinning
but
in
it's
that
a
act.
small little example for...
It's a tiny thing of...
That makes you just go,
how do we hold these things?
Right, and I'm reading through this verse, and it says, you're not to make for yourself any carved image or anything, or of any likeness of anything in heaven above, earth beneath, that is in the water below earth. You shall not bow down to them or serve them, for I am the Lord your God. So the question is it talking about these carved images as if to embody that God in order to worship that God? Because that's what a lot of these idols are, specifically down in like the rainforest and also in Africa, where they create these idols and it's supposed to be the embodiment of that actual idol, so you can go through them, like in Old Testament times where you get the idol of Baal. Like that's actually Baal, or like in Areopolis with Zeus and with all these massive buildings to the Greek gods. Like that's supposed to be the physical. I almost think of Hercules, you know, like where he walks before Zeus and then Zeus embodies the statue and talks to him in the Disney movie and then sits back down.
So, but
that's what I picture.
But what's an idol?
But but back to the graven image to finish it. Are the paintings that we have from thousands of years of church history a bad thing? Like.
So it's kind of, and I'm not going to say this. We're going to go through the scriptures, and I'm going to let listeners decide. I'll give my opinion, but I'm not saying my opinion is 100% correct either. This has been a long debated subject matter for a few hundred years from what I've seen, if not longer. It's been debated. Back to Martin Luther. Has said something about this very thing, because coming out of the Catholic Church, he saw exactly
and even more out of that, even more the Greek Orthodox with the icons. Like you would pray to the icon as if you can see them.
So let me ask a question here.
Okay.
And this is kind of where I want to just see your opinion on it. Okay. So we know, and sorry for our listeners, I'm not trying to pick on anybody that belongs to the Catholic Church or anything. I love you. That's not what my intention is, so please don't take it that way. But at a Catholic church, I've been to Catholic churches. I've had friends that gone there and invited me, and so I go. And I watch them like kiss their hand and like touch the feet of Jesus hanging on the cross and all this stuff.
Well, you're supposed to, and then like even at the grotto at Notre Dame, like people, walk under Mary, and there's that stone from the other grotto that's over in France, and people will kiss that too.
Right. And so, are they making an idol out of the cross, Jesus hanging on the cross, and then we bring it into our church, and we're saying, well, it's not an idol, it's just a symbol.
It's a symbol.
But is it? Because to other people coming in from the outside, right, we're supposed to not have the appearance of evil, I guess, would be where this conversation kind of turns me to. If we're not supposed to have the appearance of evil and other people are using these things as idols, and we're saying, well, no, they're not idols here, they're just symbols, but they view it as an idol, is it almost becoming a stumbling block or, something along those lines? I mean, what's your thoughts on it,
I
Mark?
feel like that might be going a little too far because I feel like in one sense it's a way to and again, I know this is like, I don't do it personally because I feel like that is crossing lines, but is that for them to physically, tangibly grasp something and do something? So this is what I was thinking of with the paintings, right? So you go to the Basilica at Notre Dame, right? They have the Stations of the Cross. You go to all the other Catholic cathedrals around here, they have the stained glass windows and the whatever, even
art.
Methodist churches, and it's art.
And that's a gift from God. I don't want to displace the art.
For sure. But what was the purpose of all of those? It used to be that those told the story of the gospel to a illiterate culture. So rather than being able to sit here and we could read the gospels, we can read the scriptures, it was a literate culture. So artists would create these paintings
and it was
to tell the story of Jesus.
A different time period.
Right, exactly.
Right. And I'm not discrediting that at all. I mean, we all have learned with presenting the gospel, we present it in different ways to the audience that we are presenting it. I mean, even Paul did that. That's the whole become a Roman to win a Roman concept.
Right. And this might go into what we might talk about a little bit next episode is it more people are looking to tangibly have an experience with God? If they can see Jesus on the cross, it makes them remember Jesus, thank you for this.
And so let's bring it a little closer to home, right?
Okay.
Southside Baptist Church.
Okay.
We have a cross, right?
No.
We got a cross out there. If I went up with an axe and hit that cross with an axe, what do you think would happen in our church?
People would go berserk.
Why?
Because that cross is supposed to be the cornerstone of our religion, and it's disrespectful to what it stands for.
Okay, so then let's turn it back, because I've also heard the same Christians that'll say that. They'll say, well, pledging allegiance to the flag, that's creating an idol out of the flag for America. Right? So when people burn the flag.
Oh, I see what you mean.
When people stomp on the flag, it shouldn't mean anything to us. It's just a flag. That's what I hear these same people that would flip out if I hit the cross.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, but why? Why does it bother you?
Because of what it's supposed to represent.
Okay.
So
how far are we going to take
And
that?
I mean, at the same token, it's also disrespecting personal property and damage and
well,
this, that,
okay,
and the other.
Okay, but I'm trying to get beyond
here's
that.
a good example.
I'm not trying to focus in on
Here's a good
that.
example. Like
Okay.
there's another church that I knew of. They redid their entire sanctuary, right? They had a cross on the side wall. They took the cross down and then just they were a modern church where they had the lights and the stuff, and the pastor and people were freaking out. They're like, "Why you take down our cross?" And the pastor's like, Jesus is still, the grave's still empty. We don't just, we're thankful for the cross. Remember the cross. And he's like, we preach the gospel. We have images of the crosses on our screens. Why do we have to have this cross on the wall? Why is that becoming a sacred cow?
Right.
Which a lot of churches do have sacred cows, to the point where there was a church I was a part of where they couldn't take the chandeliers down because of the old people in the church. Our sacred cow was our piano. So remember when we had to scooch it to the sanctuary because people were not okay with us, getting rid of it. We finally got rid of it because it was just losing money.
After we put it in the closet for a year.
Well, that's just it. We put it in the closet, then we put it in the foyer, we stuck it places, but we couldn't get rid of it because it became a awkward sacred cow.
So that's my thing, though. And that's what I'm saying. These things in themselves may not be bad, but how do we view them? Okay. How are we looking at these certain things? They themselves may not be a bad thing. Just like I said, I can appreciate art. Mm-hmm. I can appreciate the murals and the stained glass window. I can appreciate all that, and that's different. But when it gets into idolatry is when we're offended when something happens to that materialistic thing. Now we're crossing into a little bit of the idolatry aspect. And it's not something that we're just dealing with in the Old Testament. The church dealt with it in the New Testament. I got several scriptures here from the New Testament. Paul says in Colossians 3:5-6, put to death, therefore, what is earthly in you, sexual immorality, impurity, passion, evil desire, and covetousness, which is idolatry. So do you think we have sexual immorality, not just in the world, but in our church, not in large?
I would.
In large.
Well, yeah.
We got pastors that are struggling with pornography. Sex scandals. It was Rave Zacharias is one of them, a good example of that. So we got that. Impurity. You think we got impurity in the church? Mm-hmm. You think we got different passions? I would say evil passions, because I don't think passion in itself is evil, but evil passions, desiring to or be passionate to hurt somebody or do something that's against what God would say. I think we do. I think the church has evil desires in it, because why? We're all sinners covered by grace, though, right? We are covered by grace. And how many of us are covetousness?
Right. And the verses, that voice, which is idolatry, is pointing to the covetousness, because you want something more than what you have. And,
right.
And that's what I'm trying to think through all these different perspectives with idolatry, whether it's different faith and practice. Because I'm looking at our church's building, right. I don't think there's anything physically in this build. Like, there's things that are cool that are like we have the original stained glass window that's behind the screen.
Right. But,
that's kind of cool.
But if we lost the church,
right?
If we lost the church, what do you think would happen? I think our church would probably be okay. But how many churches aren't okay? How many bodies break up when they lose the church? It burns down. They can't make the payments, whatever it may be. I mean,
but is that so much? I don't think that's so much idolatry, because I feel like idolatry is more of the why behind the what, and idolatry focuses more on the heart and the reasons why you're doing it.
But why is a building so important?
And that's a valid question.
And that's what I'm saying. I think you can make an idol out of the building. I'm not saying the building in itself is bad. I'm just saying these are the things you can make an idol out of. So then we go into Revelation 9:20 and 21. The rest of mankind who were not killed by the plagues did not repent of the works of their hands, nor give up worshiping demons or idols. So, and I only brought this up to show that even in the end, there's going to be idols worship going on. Idols of gold and silver and bronze and stone and wood, which cannot see or hear or walk, nor did they repent of their murders or their sorcerers or their sexual immorality or their thefts. Now, I'm not saying that this is the church here, but I am saying that clearly Revelation is pointing out that there's going to be idolatry in the end. So it's not gone away with. And I'm trying to establish, I guess for me, what I'm doing here, and I've got several other verses we can go through or we cannot go through. Right. But what I'm trying to establish here is the fact that if we are not careful on how we view things in the church, we ourselves can make idols out of these things.
And I think I'm finally catching up. I think I had to catch up to where you're at, because I was taking idolatry of the church in a different way, in terms of we idolize and put what do we put in place of God? Like, we put our money, we put our family, we put our things, and I think that has something to do with it. But I think I was honestly just missing the crossways, because this is as a pastor, as a ministry leader, one of the biggest things they always tell you not to do in a church is change everything, because the church will drive you out, whether good or bad. Like, I pulled up an article real quick from Eric Geiger that popped in my head. It's 3 common idols in the church. I remember reading this when he first dropped it. He said the place, the past, and the programs. That a lot of churches will say, well, that's not the way we used to do it. We've never done that way before. Or, why are we trying to kill this ministry program? Like we have men's ministry, women's ministry, kids. Right. Like, I remember there was one time, nothing wrong. I actually asked the question in a meeting with all the leaders, and I said, why, I feel like we're all in silos. Like, why can't we all partner together and do different things? Oh, well, this is what the men do. This is what the women do. This is what the children, This is what the students do. And I'm like, can we converge? Can we somehow come together with all of this? And,
family worship night, though. We got it.
We got family worship night, and we're doing a whole church missions trip finally.
Right.
And it's super really cool things. But, there is a sense of tradition that I think people have a hard time losing. Like, I think of worship, for example. When our church was transitioning out of traditional style of worship into modern, when I first came to Southside, I remember the Southside being like, oh, we have contemporary music. I remember walking in going, y'all had contemporary music 10 years ago, but this is not contemporary music right now. Like, this is not it.
I still love the 90s worship.
And there's nothing wrong with it. But I remember when our worship pastor came in proud, and we started having all of a sudden electric guitars more on stage, and not just playing these little tiny things, but like lead electric with distortion pedal turned on, volume turned up.
Right.
And then we added subwoofers into the house, and the music became more driven. And not in a, like that's a preference. I understand it's a preference, but people started getting upset about it. And when it came down to it, is the fact of it wasn't no one could say if it was right or wrong. It's just, this is not the way we do it. This is not the way we used to do it. This is not the way we want to do it. That's the way we like to do it.
Right.
Well, and it becomes an idol. And the same for me as a millennial to go, no. The music needs to be my way. Right. It needs to be done in my method of myself. And that's an idolatrous heart too.
It's got to have that drive. It's got to have that whatever. I mean.
So here's a question I got for you then, Fuller, right? All right, so let's say someone's looking for a church, right?
Yep.
Normally what most people do is they go, what's in it for me? Mm-hmm. What do you have that can serve me? Do you think that's a bad heart to have? Yes. Or do you think that's an idolatrous heart?
Yeah, I don't think it's an idolatrous heart, but I do think it's the wrong attitude to have.
Okay.
Why? Because we are called to be servants. We're to serve one another, right? So the pastor, the elder board...
The pastor is the chief of the servants.
Well, they're chief of the servants because they pour in and they equip, right? They equip for ministry. They equip, their ministry is to equip others for ministry. They serve. So you're being served, but you also need to serve in those corporate gatherings. Go ask somebody how their day's going. Take an interest, care, love on.
Rather than focus on yourself.
Right, focusing on what you want.
Look out for the betterment of others.
Right, exactly. And
that's Philippians 2.
Right. And so these are, so I don't think it's an idolatry thing there, but I do think it's an attitude that we have where we're very self-centered and selfish and almost, I guess you could almost make an idol of yourself. You could see yourself as maybe not thinking, oh, I'm a God, but in those actions, you kind of present yourself that way. I need people to serve me. I need to be served. Well, no, there's only one person that needs to be served, and that's God. But that's
so. Maybe do you think? Because I'm thinking of like as you were talking, like, okay, what are some of the main idols in the church? And you start talking about pastors who are supposed to be servants.
Right.
Well, what happens when pastors start to become the conference speaker style pastors? And I'm just going to, my job is to preach and to teach. I'm not here to get my hands messy or go visit old people in the home and do funerals and visitations and counseling. My job is just to pray and to teach, which is what the apostles said. That's why they hired that's why they called deacons out from among themselves. But can we start to idolize pastors too, and can pastors start to put themselves in bad spots?
I think we can idolize people. I can, if I let myself go too far, I can idolize John Piper, who doesn't even know who I am. He doesn't know me. I can idolize him, though. I can make him an idol in my life. And there's three quotes I kind of want to read here real fast.
Okay.
One is from Martin Luther. He said, "Whatever your heart clings to and confides in, that is really your God, your functional savior." So to me, that's a heavy hitter right there. So whatever my heart clings to, not whatever my heart likes. I could say, Mark, brother, I love you, but my heart's not clinging to you where it's like, I got to see Mark all the time. I have to talk to Mark all the time. I'm not going to live another day if I don't talk to Mark. I got to talk to Mark. Okay, now I'm starting to cling to you. I can do the same thing with materialistic things too. Facebook. I gotta be on Facebook. I gotta look into Facebook.
Gotta check Instagram. Gotta check, and those
emails.
Struggle for me. Yeah, emails.
It can turn into work. I gotta work. I gotta earn that money. That's why.
Dang, you talking to me now, bro?
Scripture,
you talking at me now?
No, I'm talking to me too. But Scripture talks about not money is evil, but the love of money is the root of all evil. Why? Because you are making it an idol. You that love that you're giving, you're clinging to it, and so you're making it an idol of your life. And once that idolatry starts, it's hard to get rid of. It's really hard. So the next thing I want to read is from Scott J. Hafman. And he said, idolatry is the practice of seeking the source and provision of what we need either physically or emotionally in someone or something other than the one true God. It is the tragically pathetic attempt to squeeze life out of a lifeless form that cannot help us or meet our real needs. Man. That's powerful too. It smacks me in the face every time I read it. He's talking about when we start idolizing something, right? We're going back once we start clinging to something like Martin Luther said. We are trying to. He says it's a tragically pathetic attempt to try to squeeze life out of something that doesn't give us life. Why? Because Christ is the only life giver.
It reminds me of the life giver. Jesus talks about, apart from me, you can do nothing good. The vine and the branches.
Right.
And because even Jesus was like, what good is the vine if it's not connected to the source?
Right. And I guess for me, the scripture that always pops in when I read life, right? And when I read this, it's, Jesus is the way, the truth, and the life, right? So everything else is, not that it's bad, but if we let it become
but
our
they're
God,
gifts. They're supposed to be, they were good gifts from God that we turned into something
into an idol.
else.
Right. Yeah. And so we've made an idol out of something, a lifeless thing, a lifeless gift. I mean, it may be alive. I could make an idol out of my wife. I could idolize my wife so much to where it's a bad thing, right? Instead of idolizing the person who needs to be idolized, which is Christ.
Right.
I mean, so,
and I do like how in that quote, it talks about either physically
or
emotionally.
Right.
So let me ask you this question then. Let me bring it back, because this conversation, I feel like we've had a lot of open space conversation dialogue. So let's bring it in. So if someone's listening, they're like, okay, I hear you guys, this is what idolatry is. It's not good or whatever. What do you think are some good gut checks? Like, what are some good checks and balances to have in your life to check for idolatry? Because I'm thinking it says either physically or emotionally, you're trying to squeeze something out of something that was never meant to be squeezed out of in the first place. So what do you think would be a good check, like a checkpoint, touchstone?
Well, I think you need to look at where you spend most of your time, money, and really look at what is your priority, right? Elizabeth Elliot says, if we love something, if we love someone, or I'm going to put in there something, more than we love God, it is worse than inordinate. It is idolatry. When God is first in our hearts, all other loves are in order and find their rightful place. Not that we can't have these loves, right? She's not saying that we can't have these loves, and nor does Scripture say I can't love my wife. I can't love my children. No, it tells me I should love my wife.
You're called to love your wife.
I should love one another. I should love my brother.
The way Jesus loves the church.
I should do this, but it has to be in the right order. And when I love something or someone more than I love God, when I spend more time seeking, searching, and trying to grow closer to money, work, anything above God, right? Then that's where we're starting to dance with that line. And I'm not saying, okay, you're right in idolatry right then and there, but I'm saying we're dancing that fine line where we could easily put God on the back burner and fall into idolatry. And so we just need to, the first commandment, love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. And second, love your neighbor as yourself. Again, it's an order there, all right? So we're called to love God first. God should be the center of our lives. As a Christian, we're supposed to be Christ-like, Christ followers, little Christ. We hear all these terminologies growing up in church, being in church now, and that's really what we need to be, though. We need to imitate Christ. We are his ambassadors. The kingdom that he and the path that he has set us on, whether it's going out and proclaiming the gospel in the streets or just loving on somebody at work, that's all from him. That's keeping him focused. Getting up every morning and saying, God, thank you so much. I love it. So in The Chosen, there's a scene in season 2.
We love The Chosen on this podcast.
I do. Well, I love The Chosen.
That's true.
Mark's just along for the ride.
Yep.
But
well, I enjoy it.
I know you do.
It's just been a little bit since I've watched it.
But there's I think it's episode 2 of season 2. They wake up and they say a prayer and they're like, thank you, Lord, or thank you, God Almighty, King of the universe, for the rest that you've brought to my eyes.
I did. I actually, let's watch that episode. Mm-hmm.
And for me, I've started incorporating that phrase of thankfulness into my morning. And then I go about praying for God to lead my steps in my directions, all right? So it's starting off the morning, tired, groggy, whatever, but start off that morning with a prayer. And it doesn't have to be a hour-long prayer followed by 10 hours of Bible reading, and then you can start your day. I'm not saying that, but acknowledge God and what he has done for you. Be thankful to the Almighty that he's given you another day, not to serve yourself, but to serve him and to serve others. That's a great gift.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where we just need to refocus and reprioritize what is our purpose for being here. It's not to make money. It's not to work. It's not to have a wife. It's not even to go out and have fun with friends and stuff like that. It's out to serve God and love others. That's what
we're called to do.
And all that other stuff is fine in its rightful place.
So even with church, programs, tradition, with family life, ball games, and going out to eat, church, small groups, whatever.
All good
they're
things.
all good things.
Right.
Just when they're in the right place.
Right.
But when they're out of place and they become the chief cornerstone of everything.
That's when they become an idol.
Gotcha. So I like that.
That's kind of how I'm going to land the plane with my thoughts. You got anything else you want to
I'm going to end with an article that was called How to Expose the Idols in Your Life by Joe Carter from the Gospel Coalition. He said, here's a few areas to examine in order to determine whether the quote-unquote good things in your life have replaced a good God. The first thing you need to do is examine your imagination. What do you daydream about? When your mind wanders, is it to material goods? Is it to like adventures and experiences, or to celebrities, or even the approval of your peers? Second, examine your attention. Consider the times you would rather be doing something else rather than practice a spiritual discipline. Number 3, examine your finances. Most of us have discretionary disposable income, money left over after the bills have been paid for. How do you spend it? The next one is examine your prayer life. How do you feel when God doesn't respond to your prayers?
Ooh, that's a good
Do you
one.
trust him to know what's best? In the next episode, we're going to be talking about what happens when you don't feel close to God. We'll talk about that one next week. The next one is examine your relationships. What person do you love the most? And here's another thing, and he didn't say this, but if you would lose that person, would you lose everything? Because that's a good question.
Would it destroy you?
Would it destroy you? The next one is examine your emotions. What do you most fear? What do you hope for? What are you most passionate about? What do you most desire? What makes you extremely angry or sad? The next one is examine your concerns. What do you worry about? What are you anxious about? What do you fear the most losing? The last one is examine your past and the future. If you had a time machine, you could travel into either the past or the future. What would you use it to change? What makes you nostalgic? What are your biggest regrets? What do you want most to happen in the future? What would cause you to despair if it did not come to pass? Then he continues on and says, use these questions to uncover your deepest cravings and desires of your heart. Once you've identified a potential idol, consider whether you've put it ahead of or in place of God. Pray that he will help you become more aware of your idols and that he'll lead you on a long, hard path of faithfulness. Just like the Israelites, we may have to accept the bitter consequences of our idolatry, but any price is worth paying if it helps us turn back to the true worship of Jesus. So I'm going to add this article. I'm going to add the other one from Geiger in the show notes as well, so that way people want to go back and just read those themselves. Because let's be honest, most people listen to this while they're on the car or they're doing something. Right. We know y'all ain't ready to take notes right now, so we put these in the show notes for you every week. At least we try to.
We attempt.
We really try to, so that way you can go back. But that's all my final thoughts on this, man. I know you've already given your final thoughts, but any last words before we sign off? Because I don't want to have the last word if you got something else.
I just want to leave the listeners with this, 1 John 5:20 and 21. And we know that the Son of God has come and has given us understanding, so that we may know him who is true. And we are in him who is true, in his Son, Jesus Christ. He is the true God and eternal life. Little children, keep yourselves from idols.
Time for Fun Facts with Fuller.
That last laugh every time, my dude. Well, hey, so we ended that one kind of with thinking, kind of with the thought gears turning, somber feeling. So let's give the people a little something to chuckle at before they go, my friend.
All right.
I know what this fun fact is, so I'm ready for it.
This is pretty funny.
I just want to know where the heck you get this crap.
Internet.
Oh, goodness.
So, listeners, here's the fun fact of the day. A man actually changed his name because he lost a bet. After losing a drunken poker bet, which I do not advise, in 2009, a New Zealand man had his name legally changed to Full Metal Havoc, more sexy intelligent than Spock and all the superheroes combined with Frost Nova. It took 5 years, but the name was finally approved by the government. All 99 characters of his new name are on his passport. And that's the fun fact of the day.
That's the fun fact of the fact that it took 5 years.
The government's like, no.
They're like, nah.
No.
And then all of a sudden someone was like, yeah,
but he's like, I lost a bet. I have to. You don't understand, government. I have to.
I just want to know why it took so long. Like, is it the government?
Probably the government saying, no, bro, we ain't doing that for you.
But I mean, that's the dumbest bet I've ever heard. I mean, I don't know.
Oh, I bet you. And if I lose, I'll change my name.
Okay,
right.
let's do it. And then they should. No, I mean, now kudos to him for following through on his bet. He made his yes yes and his no.
That's James.
He followed James. He followed the Bible.
Yep.
Well, either way, guys, just like always, we are so glad that you've joined us all the way to the end of this episode. Some of you guys have been with us since the very beginning. Some of you guys are. Maybe this is your first episode. I don't know. But either way, we would love to connect with you. You can head over to realtalkchristianpodcast.com, and that's where your source is for literally everything. The merch store, the email address, realtalkingchristianpodcast@gmail.com, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, at Real Talk Christian Podcast. We make it so easy for people, Fuller.
And there's a phone number, 574-400-5352.
And some people have been texting us on that, which keep it up because we answer it.
Yeah, we
do. Well, we try. We don't answer the phone.
It may not be right away, but we get back as soon as we are available. So
and have the bandwidth to respond.
And that phone number connects directly to Mark and I's cell phones. Like it's right, it pops up and it's like, okay, like, hey, man, I wish I had a chance to answer this call, but I don't. But if they leave a message, that's cool. I'll call them back.
Yep. The easiest way is just text us. Text us or email us. But so we got to make sure we say it one more time before we go. The 2 for mega swag bag giveaway. The two for giveaway.
Let's just call it the 2 for giveaway.
The 2 for giveaway, where we're giving away 2 shirts, 2 mugs, 2 books,
and whatever
a
else.
whole bunch of other stuff tossed up in there. Keep your eyes and ears open on social media, mainly Facebook and Instagram, and we'll give you more details about that. Anything else you got for the people, Fuller?
Nope, not at all.
I love it, guys. Well, hey, until next time.
Take it easy.